it's Sandy Wyllie. Welcome to my mental health channel, where I wipe away the stigma of mental illness by talking about my own struggles, having borderline personality disorder, having complex post-traumatic stress disorder, severe anxiety and panic attacks, depression. I talk about my narcissistic mother who brutally beat me as a child, my paranoid schizophrenic father who was in and out of mental institutes all my life, my unethical psychologist who raped me and sexually exploited me, all the therapies I've been in, and a plethora of other mental health related topics. But I only come on as a former patient of almost 20 years. I am not a licensed therapist. I do not hold a degree in psychology, so I cannot diagnose you or give you a professional opinion. All I ask in return of you is respect and kindness in the comments. Please be respectful and kind to me. Be respectful and kind to other people who comment. We don't need to agree on everything. Variety is the spice of life after all, but we do need to show each other respect and kindness always. Now, if you are new to my channel, welcome, welcome, welcome. It's good to be back. I was on vacation for over a week, and now I am back in the swing of things. I went to Disney World. I'm going to talk a lot about that in this video. If you haven't already, please hit that little box on the right hand corner that says subscribe, because it's 100% free, and that way you will be notified when I put a new video up. If you like what you see, give it a thumbs up, like, and share it with your friends. Let's spread it out to the world. Disney World. I'm going to talk about being disjointed today. So what does that mean? I've noticed that I'm very disjointed from my family going on this vacation to Disney World for a week. We went by train. So you get to know a lot about people when you go on vacation with them. And this was the first family vacation that we went on in 20 years. The last one we went on with our son Austin was in 2004 when he was 6 years old. It is now 2024 and he is 26. So he is not a little child. He's his own person. He's a full-grown man with a full-time job. He's an adult. So it's like going on vacation with another adult. Even though that adult happens to be my son, he is still a completely separate person with his own, schedule, his own personalities, his own quirks, and everything else. When he was 6 years old, he was like a little boy who just followed along with his parents and was very well behaved, and he was like more, he wasn't his own person at 6 years old, obviously. But I learned a lot about my son, I learned a lot about my husband, and I learned a lot about how we're a disjointed family. Now, what does disjointed mean? If you look up the definition, it means it's, not connected, not joined, disjointed, unhitched, not connected, not joined together. People can be together physically, but mentally not be together at all. So you see couples, like, look around and you can see disjointed people. For instance, you can look in a restaurant. You can see couples, all right, they're sitting together, supposedly having dinner. And the husband is, this is my phone case, on the phone, texting. The wife is on the phone. They're not saying anything to each other. They're not looking at each other. So they're physically, sitting at the same table, in the same restaurant, but they're not together. They're disjointed. That's a disjointed couple. When on this trip, I was physically with my husband and son, but mentally checked out. Everyone was checked out on everyone else. What does that mean to be mentally checked out? It means that the people you're with, whether they're your spouse, your lover, your best gal pals, your children, whoever they are, your parents, they might be physically there with you, but they've checked out, mentally checked out on you. So you're disjointed. You can tell when people are cohesive. You can tell when people, just look around, observe other people, see how other people are. They don't even have to say anything. They don't even have to be in a conversation. You can just tell the way they look at each other, okay? Cohesive people, without even using words or anything, you can tell they're cohesive just by the way they look at each other. They're in tune, you know? They're in tune together. They're in sync. They're in sync together mentally. You can tell that they're in sync, and you can tell the disjointed people are completely out of sync, completely out of touch. And that's how I learned a lot about disjointed families, and I've seen it in my family, especially in my family. I've seen it in other families at all these Disney parks. Disjointed people, disjointed families, where the two children were fighting with each other. The father was off on one side of the kids. I don't know what he was doing, and not paying attention to the kids. And the mother was off on her phone or whatever on the other side, and the kids were like, you know, fooling around, batting each other, pushing each other, bumping into people, and it wasn't a cohesive family. Now I'll talk about me, my husband, and my son. When we were at the parks, my son was a mile ahead. My husband was in the middle trying to catch up with my son, and I was at the end, the very end, taking pictures. So a cohesive family would have looked like all three people were together. The father, the mother, and the son were all walking together, you know, side by side, talking about what's the next ride we're going to get on, and, you know, looking like a unit, a family unit. If you looked at us at the park, we did not look like we were together at all. My son was 2 miles ahead of me. My husband was 1 mile ahead of me, and then I was behind taking pictures. Now, I love to take pictures. My son and my husband, they don't stop and take pictures. You know, I like pictures. I take tons and tons and tons of pictures. So I stop and take pictures, and then they're further, you know, then my husband's yelling at me to, you know, come on, come on, come on, like it's some sort of friggin' marathon race. It was not an enjoyable vacation at all. Not the least. That's why I wanted to do this video about disjointed families. It's not just in families. You can be disjointed with your lover. You can be disjointed with your girlfriends. You can feel disjointed from anyone. It doesn't have to. You can feel disjointed on the job, you know. Maybe you have a group of friends that you feel like a third wheel. That's disjointed. Like they all click, and like you're like out in left field, like, you know, far removed. Even though you're with them, you're really not. You're not cohesive. You're not like that. So that's what this vacation really boiled down to. You know, you spend a lot of money, you look forward to your vacation the whole year, right? And then you learn something about the people that you live with, that you're completely disconnected from them, You're completely disjointed. You're not a cohesive family. But we never were a cohesive family anyway. As you know, I had affairs. I never really felt, you know, connected with my husband. We also have a severely handicapped son, Alex, who has traumatic brain injury, so he can't go on these vacations with us. They're it was like 90 degrees, 91 degrees, and like you wait in line for an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours, for like a 5-minute ride. So Alex could never do he could never do that. He would never be able to do any of that at all. Even on the ride, he would never, you know, so it just was like, a lot of times too, my husband was zoned out, like he'd be there in a restaurant or on a bus or something, and he'd physically be there, but he'd be like spaced out, zoned out, all right? Completely zoned out, like, and I go, oh, you know, even my son would say, are you all right? What's wrong? Oh, I'm just tired, or something like that. Have you ever felt that way, disjoint, in relationships in your family, or with your friends, or with your partner? I'm telling you, a vacation really, you know, drives that home. A vacation really, you learn a lot about people when you go away with them. A great deal about people. And, you know, it's kind of sad because it's supposed to be a fun time, right? Disney World is supposed to be fun. But it wasn't fun at all because we were so disjointed. We were disconnected. We weren't really together on the vacation. I looked around too, and, you know, I saw families that were together, you know, were connected with each other, were in tune with each other, and then I saw other families that were disjointed, just as maybe not as bad as my family, because my family wasn't even physically together a lot. You know, it was spread out. You know, my legs were swollen, my feet were swollen. I had to like practically run to keep up with my son and my husband. You know, I'm almost 60 years old. I don't walk fast. That's another thing too, you know. If you're walking with someone, right, whether it's your friend or your partner, your mother or your brother or whatever, do you often notice that one person is a mile ahead of the other person? It's like, are you walking with me, or we're not together, are we? Do you notice that have you ever taken a walk anywhere? Just taking a walk with your parents, your boyfriend, your child, well, whoever, right? And like, either you're a mile ahead of them or they're a mile ahead of you. In other words, you're not in sync, you know? You're not walking together. You're not together. You ever been any place with someone, like you went to the store with someone, you went shopping with someone, you went to a flea market with someone, whatever you did, you went with them. But even though you went with that person, you really weren't with that person, okay? Like, say you went shopping with a gal pal, all right? Your best friend or any friend, and like, they're off looking at the shoes, because they love shoes. You're off looking at the sweaters, and like, you went with your girlfriend, but you're off you're not together. She's off in one end of the store, you're off at the other end of the store, and it just seems like you don't like the same thing. You know, she says, oh, let's look at the handbags. And you go, oh, I don't need another handbag. I have 100 handbags. You know, but you want to be, you know, friendly and get along, and so you know, you look at the handbags with her, and then it's like, you're just not cohesive. You know, you might be there at the same store, you're supposed to be shopping together with your girlfriend, but you're really, something's off, you know, you're just not. Well, that's how it was. There was a lot off on this whole vacation, and it was so disconnected, and it made me realize how now I was going to say dysfunctional, but a family doesn't have to be dysfunctional to be disconnected, disjointed. I mean, they can function like that, you know, disjointed. So it doesn't have to be like they're screaming and fighting, and they seem like they can't, you know, but even though they're not, you know, arguing, or, you know, they're still not cohesive. You see what I'm saying? They're still not together. Like the example I gave about the two girlfriends going shopping. They're going shopping together, but they're really not together because one wants this. You could say, well, they could compromise. She could come over and look at the shoes, and then you could, you know, you could go over and look at whatever she wanted to, you know, and back and forth like that. But it just, when you see cohesive people that are really, it doesn't seem like they're compromising anything. Like when they're walking together, right? It doesn't seem like one has to slow down or one has to speed up to catch up with the other person. It just seems like they were so in sync, you know? In sync meaning they don't have to, it's natural, you know, they blend, they go together naturally, you know, they go together so naturally that it doesn't look like one is trying to compromise for the other person's sake. It's not like that. They just, you know, they just go together. When you see it, you only can tell like when you see it, when you see cohesive people that just naturally go together, and you see disjointed people like me and my family that just don't fit, you know. It's like you got the wrong puzzle pieces, right? It's like someone took a box of two different puzzles and threw them up in the air. So you have pieces, you know, you have the wrong puzzle pieces, and you're trying to fit them. What doesn't this go together? And no, it doesn't go here. No matter how much you try to push it in, and, you know, try to compromise here and make it look like it goes together. And maybe it does. Maybe the piece will go together with the other piece, but the pitches are different. You ever have that happen? The puzzle piece will fit somewhat, but it isn't the right puzzle piece. But it looks like it fits, right? But the picture, look at the picture, it doesn't go together. It doesn't line up. That's a disjointed family. You might try to, the piece might look like it belongs there and fits, but it doesn't line up. The picture doesn't line up. So me and my family didn't line up on this vacation at all. I like to take pictures. They hate taking pictures. I walk much slower. I'm only 5'2". I have very bad feet. I have very big, what do you call it? I need surgery on my feet, really, but I don't walk fast. They walk like marathon runners, you know. They're more, I have to jog to keep up with them. So like we're not in sync, we're not together, we're not, my husband's zone out, he's a mile ahead of me, my son's 2 miles ahead of me. That's how it was. So just notice that within your own relationships, you know. Notice if you're cohesive with the person or disjointed with the person. And let's talk about it. Tell me about your relationships. Are they disjointed or are they cohesive? Do you find that when you're with someone physically that they're really zoned out, they're not with you mentally, or that, you know, you're not on the same wavelength, or that you just don't, you're mismatched somehow? I don't mean like opposites. You say opposites attract, like one person is shy and one person is outgoing. I'm not talking about that. You can be opposites. I can be a bookworm and someone else could be, you know, loves nightclubs, but when we're together, we're cohesive. It doesn't mean that you have to be exactly alike to be cohesive. You can be very different and still be cohesive and still be together in sync with one another, even though you're different and you have different personalities or different tastes. You still be cohesive. And people who are very much alike with each other, who have a lot of things in common, can be disjointed. See what I'm saying? So let's talk about it. I'd love to hear from you, and I'd love to know what your opinions are, and if you've ever felt disjointed from someone, your family, or a partner, or even a friend. If you felt like, you're together but you're really not together. That's how this whole vacation felt for me, unfortunately. And I'm just being honest here and want to share it with you. And I hope that you can share and bring something to this conversation too, because I love to hear from you, and I haven't heard from you in a long time. And let's get back on track, and let's start communicating and be cohesive, not disjointed. Let's us all be cohesive together.